Hello. There is an important connection to be made between the contents of the Common Core standards and the idea of growth mindset, as well as many of the other topics that we've tackled in this course. And understanding these connections might assist in clearing up some of the confusion about the value of the Common Core, and in particular, some complaints about doing things the hard way. Understandably, a common complaint from parents about the Common Core is that they have a hard time understanding the way that students are being asked to do common tasks, like, for instance, simple mathematical calculations. Many teachers who not only teach traditionally, but were taught traditionally, have similar complaints about the new standards. We need to remember that those of us who were educated in the 1980s and even the early 90s, and any time before that, didn't have to contend with the internet. Our world, the economy, our social lives, and our very existences were completely different than that of children today. These skills, the skills that we needed to be successful, were very different from the skills that our kids need to be successful today. And many of us are dealing with that change today. For people with a fixed mindset, it's better for learning to come easily. Easier and faster means more intelligent, smarter. There's a higher rate of quick success when we take the easy route. So if speed is seen as a sign of intelligence and strength, a traditional method may in fact make more sense. In an NBC article by Michael Rubingham, the following example was used. So let's take a look at the example that a parent sent in of their child's homework assignment and analyze it a little bit. So the problem was 32 minus 12. Now, most of us would look at this and we would say, oh, that's pretty simple. We're just going to take 2 minus 2, 0, 3 minus 1, 2, and we get the number 20. That's the easy way. It makes sense. It's the way we were taught. But this parent sent in an example of the way their child was supposed to solve this problem. Let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at the way that the Common Core, or the teacher who was using the Common Core was asking students to solve this problem, this simple 32 minus 12 problem. So we're working with the same problem, 32 minus 12, but students were being asked to take the low number, the 12, and then make a simpler number out of it, easier to deal with. Let's make it 15. So by adding 3, we can get 15. And then we're going to take that 15 and we're going to continue to make easy, bigger numbers out of it. So 15 plus 5 is 20. 20 plus 10 is 30. And 30 plus 2 gets us to the 32 that we were attempting to get to before. And then what students were doing was adding these numbers together to get 20, which is the answer to this problem. So let's analyze a little bit about why this makes sense in terms of the Common Core standards. If you look at this problem in relation to the nature of the standards and the idea of growth mindset, it can illuminate a different perspective. Growth mindset focuses on the idea that success and achievement happen through hard work and deliberate practice. It assumes that the struggle is a natural part of learning, and that struggle creates deeper and longer lasting connections in the brain. In a growth mindset, mistakes, struggle, and effort are necessary in order to achieve high levels of success. When we look at the Common Core math practices, we see expectations for the ability to persevere, reason abstractly, construct viable arguments, model, use tools, be precise, look for structure, and identify patterns. These are high-level thinking skills that require more than rote memorization of processes. Perseverance, for example, by its very definition, requires making mistakes, learning from them, and continuing to work to solve a problem using the learned information. So in order to succeed at this particular math practice outlined in the Common Core, one would have to be comfortable making mistakes. Someone with a fixed mindset would struggle with this. In the math example provided in the photo that was attached in the NBC article, The students are required to practice additive reasoning, a key skill in learning multiplication, division, and also a key skill in developing the skills in more abstract mathematical concepts. So yes, this may be a harder way, but the skills that the students are practicing will help them get better later on when math problems get harder and when concepts get more difficult. Something else to consider about this problem and its comparison to the more difficult method is that this problem does not require borrowing, which is the method that most of us learn to solve problems like, for instance, 33 minus 9, where you have a number here that you can't take away 9 from. So you can't easily figure it out. You have to, borrow 13. This is the way most of us learned how to do it. Then you take 13 minus 9 and you get 4 and 24. So that's how most of us learned to borrow. So most of us memorized this borrowing process. But how many of us didn't understand the concept behind it when we learned how to borrow? And how does understanding the concepts associated with the processes impact our ability to succeed in higher level math or to translate that into higher level math skills and more abstract ideas? So these lower level reasoning skills are critical for student success in more abstract math concepts. Another clarification would be that there's no direction in the Common Core for specific method that students must use. So in the Common Core, it does not say students must use this process to figure out, simple subtraction calculations. There is an expectation that students will be able to explain the method that they do use, which they could probably do fairly easily in the first example we looked at, where borrowing was not needed. But in the example where borrowing was the case, students might have a more difficult time if they didn't have the additive reasoning skills gained by doing it the hard way. The ELA standards have much of the same types of concepts built into them. The skills themselves really aren't that different than they have been in past standards, although the focus is less on content and more on skills. What's different is the general direction outlined at the start of the ELA standards. So this section is called the Anchor Standards, and they address career and college readiness skills for all grade levels. They include skills like independence, content knowledge, responding to varied audience and purposes, being critical, providing evidence, and understanding multiple perspectives. So why do we have to do things differently? Well, in today's economy, students don't just need to know how to do the easiest thing. In fact, they need to be able to innovate, think flexibly, and adapt quickly, changing and novel situations. They need to be highly creative since they're now competing with a global community rather than just others in their local communities. Times are different for children today than they were for us, although I don't think the old way prepared our generation either. The old way may have been okay for our parents going into jobs in an industrial society, but it isn't going to work for our children. The Common Core may very well change or even go away. I've been teaching for 18 years and I've seen 3 different sets of standards in my state during that time. I don't really think that matters as much as the fact that whatever we teach and however we teach it, struggle, collaboration, innovation, and communication need to be key components and skills that our students are working to master. Our kids need to learn to struggle through these difficult tasks in order to develop necessary skills for their 21st century success. And we need to promote a growth mindset and struggle through these difficult tasks with them as partners in learning. So for parents who are doing homework with their children, it's important to just recognize that it's new for you too, and even though it feels unpleasant to not be able to help them immediately, that is a normal part of learning, and embracing it might promote a growth mindset more than fighting it. In addition to teachers struggling with this, start small, do as much as you can. I think that most people are frustrated not because of the standards themselves, but because of the tests that go along with them. And that's a whole nother story and a whole nother issue. But the standards themselves really are promoting skills that will help 21st century learners. And we can help by promoting a growth mindset around this change. Change is difficult, but we can help promote growth mindset by embracing the change and helping our kids embrace the change and embrace the challenges that they are encountering as they work through really difficult problems. So that's a lecture on the connection between growth mindset and the Common Core standards and what our kids are struggling with today, and also 21st century skills. So see what you can take from that and help your kids as much as you can work on their really difficult homework with an open mind.